Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the December 10th Board of Directors meeting. So there's one person here who has for a name, a political piece of notice, no chole. Please, that's inappropriate. Either put your name or nothing, but we don't need any political advertisement right now. So please change that for that person. I appreciate it. So everyone should be muted except for board members. Okay, very good. Well, welcome to the December 10th meeting. Alice, would you call the roll, please?
I will. Say here if you were here, Robert Golden.
Present.
Andy Andrews. Present is good.
Yeah.
Here.
Patty Hatzistavrakis.
Present.
Phil Denny.
Present.
And Alice Lindahl. 5 board members here.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
If I could ask you to whether or not you approve the minutes, say yes or no. Robert Golden.
Yes.
Andy Andrews.
Yes.
Patty Hatzistavrakis.
Yes.
Phil Denny.
Yes.
Alice Lindahl. Okay. We're all set then.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have just brief remarks to make at the beginning of the meeting. The first pertains to the 2021 annual LCA annual meeting and election. The annual meeting of the LCA and the election for 2021 will take place on March 20th, 2021 at 1 p.m. via the Zoom platform. Login information for the Zoom meeting will be posted on the LCA website prior to the annual meeting. A 1971 amendment to the LCA bylaws moved the annual meeting from January to March. The board is not able to find any evidence to conclude this bylaw amendment was not properly passed at the time. 50 years of the LCA annual meeting being held in March without objection evidences the validity of this amendment and that the annual meeting should be properly held in March. The membership is encouraged to nominate LCA members to serve on the 2021 board. Nomination forms are available online at leilaniestates.org. Nominations must be received by dropping them off at the LCA office no later than January 4th, 2021. For nominations that are mailed, they must be postmarked no later than January 4th, 2021. Director terms will be for 2-year terms, pursuant to an amendment to the bylaws made at the December 2019 board meeting. Notice is hereby given that in the event the court, in the present ongoing litigation, determines that director terms should remain at 1 year, all director terms shall automatically revert to 1-year terms for the 2021 year. At the November LCA board meeting, Director Phil Denny moved to hold the election annual meeting in January 2021. This motion did not pass. To clarify, Mr. Denny's motion was improper since movement of the annual meeting and election to January would require an amendment to the bylaws. Proposed amendments to the bylaws require proper notice of the amendment to be given in advance to the membership, and this was not provided. That's on the 2021 LCA annual meetings and elections. I'd like to briefly report regarding the road. Tomorrow, Andy Andrews and Jay Turkowski will be meeting with Bulama Opuna to discuss the disbursement of funds received from the county and how that will be handled. Both Andy and Jay are in the process of securing an engineering firm that will oversee the entire process in terms of vetting and getting bids road building companies. At this time, there's no timeline that can be given when this road project will be completed. We'll have a much better idea of that once we have secured an engineering firm and they have ascertained who we're using for the construction. So at this point, it will be an illusion to say it'll be done by such and such a point. We don't know. Okay, so that's it for roads. And as soon as we know more information, we will keep you notified via MailChimp or at the next board meeting. Thank you. Andy, you're next.
Thanks, Robert. So I have 3 items. The first is that the November financials are posted currently on the LCA website, post the balance sheet and the P&L as usual. Second item is that I met with the reserve study firm. They've been to Leilani Estates now and done their collection of data and will be getting back to us sometime after the first of the year with an initial draft reserve study. And then thirdly, I asked the board to, as per our procurement policy, I asked the board at this time to vote on the okay to the 5 checks that Kim sent us over a couple of days ago. I know it was sent to the whole board, so we've all seen it. So I won't bother to read down the 5 checks, but if anybody wants to ask a question, now's the time, but otherwise.
I think, Andy, this is Phil Denny. I think for transparency's sake, we ought to read what the checks are and the amounts, please.
Will do. Aloha Petroleum, $384.01. The reason that check's included is because their cumulative total for the year exceeds the $2,500. The second is the Kessner Law Firm, $7,191.19. The third is the Torkelson Law Firm, $6,841.88. The next is U.S. Fire Insurance Company, $683.10. That's a partial payment on our vehicle policy. And again, the total annual exceeds $2,500. So that's why that one's been included. And then again, a Torkelson check for the month following for $4,526.70. So with those, I'd like to ask for the board's okay to go ahead and pay those 5 checks as per our procurement policy. And I'll make a motion for that payment. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Great. And Alice, would you call the vote, please?
I will. Robert Golden.
Robert, you're muted.
Yes.
Andy Andrews.
Yes.
Patty Hatzis-Tavarakis.
Yes.
Philip Golden. Sorry. Philip Denny.
Yes.
Alice Lindahl. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. And the checks will be paid. That's the end of my presentation, Robert.
The next item on the agenda is the Secretary's report, which is me. And I have a couple small things to report. One of them is about the Rapid Ohia Death Study Team who visited Leilani this week. We had a nice long day with them, going out and looking at trees, which they were tremendously excited about seeing so many. And I'm going to have Robert post a picture of them because they will be back. They've met with other members besides just me, and they will be driving a Forest Service logo truck, and they will be individual members to tell them, next one, sorry. This is Blaine and Kaimana, the two head researchers, and they are excitedly looking at small leaves on our ohia trees, which they would like to pluck off and make cultures of to test them for being the survivor tree that provides the genes for reestablishing ohia on the Big Island and all of Hawaii. So I just wanted to let you know that. And if your home is one of the ones that they said had really good candidates in the front yard that they could reach from a cherry picker driving down the road, then they would call you and ask your permission. So you might be getting a letter from these folks. They're very nice. And that's it for the ohia. There is another picture that they brought to me, which I thought
Hold on.
members, yeah, okay, not real important, but I found it sort of exciting. They have the rapid ohia death was said to have been originated in Leilani, and that's because it was first reported here by a couple of members in Leilani 1 and Leilani 2, but the evidence shows that the rapid ohia death actually started in Hilo, worked its way here over 10 years, and no one noticed it until gardeners in Leilani estate noticed it and brought it to their attention. But the picture, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you can't get
Okay.
it. It's a map.
Oh, the map of
The map, yeah.
Leilani. That's
It shows the lava in the map, you know,
yeah,
big
I got
black
that.
blob. Yeah, yeah.
It's coming up next. Hold on one second. It's coming.
Okay. I love showing slides. That's the problem. I bring this up because after the eruption,
There it
there's
is.
so much controversy about where, you know, we can't read it though, can we? We never can make these things
I'm gonna
grow
make it
bigger.
bigger.
Okay. How long ago was there lava underneath us in 2018 when the 2018 flow happened? Some people said, oh, it's just in 1960, 1955. We should have known better. But here is the official map of the dates of the flows in Leilani. And as you can see, there are two major flows. One of them happened right after the Declaration of Independence, 1790, and the other one was between 400 and 750 years ago. And in these two different lava flows, there are different subspecies of ohia. And the ones in the north spot you see there, I wonder if I can point it out. Let's see, I guess I can't. You can't see my thing. But that north orange colored blob, that is where most of the really healthy looking trees are. So this is where an important place to be looking for the that tree. But I'm happy to see this because it settles once and for all just how old our lava is underneath our feet. And it wasn't just recent. And so 2018 is the gap between times. Anyway, enough of that. You can take down, thank you. The next item is a secret committee report. I have several different areas to report on. And this month, the police department that they're reported in Leilani states that there was one theft on Kupono Street and one car theft on Kupono Street. So I don't know if those are the same spot or not. It's very likely. So that's the complete police report for our subdivision for the whole month. And I have another picture of 328 junk cars that were removed from Hawaiian Homeland's property November 17th. And if it isn't too much, Robert, you can show that picture. junk car pictures. And this is only half of the cars that were in this area. And the county got together with a whole bunch of organizations and cleaned up and took every one of those out. And they are rehabilitating the land for future home sites for people. And they've got to get rid of all the toxic materials from these cars first. So that's a real step forward. A lot of junk cars that are being hauled around Leilani have likely come from this spot. Not for sure, though. And the last item is that Seeker helped recover a stolen trailer that was stolen from a lot in Upper Malama. And I wanted to point out to members that trailers are a real hot commodity with the criminal elements, and they will grab them when they see them. So lock up your trailers and your cars really well. And we were fortunate to find this one because it's very hard to hide a trailer. It was stashed in one of the hidey holes up here on Miley Street. So that's my complete report for Seeker this month. And the next item on our agenda is old business, and Philip Denny's going to be talking about the 2021 election.
Thank you.
Would you prefer, Robert, that I make all my comments at the same time, or shall I split them up, old and new?
I think you can make them all at the same time.
Okay, so I'll hold off until the old business when I talk about my infrastructure report then, and we'll talk about the election then. Thank you.
What's that? No. Why don't you talk about no? I'd rather talk about the election now.
Okay. Well, there's a number of things that I wanted to talk about, and I suppose the first thing is the member participation. I note has been changed, and I wrote to you about that and pointed out that 421J5A, this is Hawaiian state law, says all members have the right to participate in the meetings unless the board votes to not allow any participation at all. So my request would be is if you don't wish to have the members participate in the meetings, then we as a board should vote for that and be on the record for that. So that would be my request. If you'd like, I'll make a motion to that effect.
Yes, well, please do that.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that this board adopt a policy that members have the right to participate in discussions of all matters except those involving executive decisions.
Thank you. Is there a discussion?
Robert, doesn't this meeting have a section for member comments?
Yes, but
Okay, thank you.
right. So Phil, the members do participate. Sometimes we do it before our discussion. Sometimes we do it afterwards. Today we're doing it afterwards, where members are allowed to ask questions, make comments. And are you asking for something more than that?
What I'm saying is that the Hawaii state law requires in these types of meetings that all members have the right to participate at any time, not just the beginning, not just the end,
Right.
unless the board votes to deny members the right to participate at all. So
Right.
what I'm asking is that if that's the board's decision and would like not to have member participation in these meetings, then we need to go onto the record and say so.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Does any other board member have a question about that, a comment to make?
I'd like to ask a question of Phil. From what you said at the beginning, it sounded like someone had been prevented from participating. That's not true? That's just an impression?
No, I'm not suggesting that, but the comments that I'm getting from, and again, because of my position, I represent the naysayers, that the comment that I got, and I'll quote, is that we shouldn't have any backroom deals to silence those who disagree. And that's where this is coming from. And I agree with that. I think that members in a deliberative process, particularly a democratic process that we have, should have the right to participate. Now, obviously, the meeting has to go on and it has to be run in a orderly manner, and the chair certainly has the right, I think, to limit discussion. But I think that that being said, members should, in my opinion, have the right, and not just in my opinion, in the opinion of the Hawaii state law, should have the right to participate about anything at any time.
Okay, all right. I think you've made yourself clear. Patty, do you have anything you want to ask?
No, I think I'm pretty clear with what Phil is asking for. It feels similar to the discussion that we opened up to the floor last month with regards to the vehicle repair. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. I do worry about, and I mean disruptions in the best way, just being able to, confine the conversation to, relevant points and things like that is something to be considered. But I do think members, obviously should have an opportunity to speak.
Okay, thank you. Andy, you have anything you want to add? Okay.
I'm a little unclear, Phil. Does this mean they can interrupt while you're speaking?
No,
or-
I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that
Okay.
Robert's Rules of Orders be followed. I think the chair of the meeting certainly has to be in control of it. I think if there's abusive talk or stuff like that, I think certainly the chair should and has the right to stop that. But again, I think to just limit in the members' input in a way that doesn't comport with the law, I think is asking for trouble down the road. And I think that from a democratic point of view, I do think members ought to have the right to have input during the meeting.
Right. So I guess my only concern is I appreciate the sentiment of having input from members. I think that's important. And I guess I'm just want to make sure that we can have a smooth running of business here, because this is a business meeting, and I mean, obviously as chair, I will make a decision whether or not, we need to move on, and we've had enough comments. But I'm just having a concern. That's not the way we've run our meetings before. And yes, and we have at times asked for members' comments during the meeting when it was relevant to a particular issue. So I'm just stating my concern. So maybe any other comments before we call the question?
Robert, this is Lincoln. Can I say something?
Yes, Lincoln, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious about exactly what is the what is happening now that currently does not comply with state law. I think Phil, his motion is presupposes that something is not, if we're not following state law. So why not just, perhaps somebody can make a friendly amendment that says that the motion should be that we shall comply with state law. I mean, I think it's not necessary, but I think that will at least set a baseline in terms of what maybe I can address Phil. Can I address Phil?
Yes.
Yeah, Phil, what is it specifically? Hi, Phil. What is it specifically that is not that is offensive to state law currently that's going on?
Well, what state law says, at least to my reading, Lincoln, is that members have the right to participate at any time, not just the beginning or the end of the meeting. That's what I think the issue is. By limiting member participation to a specific part of the meeting is not in compliance with my reading of that law. It says very clearly, to my reading, is that members have the right to participate about all the issues at any time. And the law, the statute goes on to say, unless the board votes to not have member participation. So that's what I'm asking for. If the board doesn't want member participation, then that is the board's choice. But I think that that would reflect poorly on the board's willingness to go along with democratic principles.
What is your
That's-
definition of member participation?
Yes, member participation.
Yeah, what is your definition of member participation?
That members are able to raise their hand in this Zoom format, and that Robert would recognize members to make comments or questions about a particular issue before the board. And as I said before, Robert is in control. He can decide how long people get to talk, and he can cut people off, and he's in control. But what I'm saying is that if you do not wish to have member participation, then we need to say so.
Well,
Robert, may I say something?
No, hold on, Andy. Phil,
Go ahead.
a corollary provision to 421J that you referenced is Hawaii's Sunshine Law, which is applicable to all bodies. The legislature exempted themselves, but all, for example, the Hawaii County Council complies strictly with the Hawaii Sunshine Law. Would you agree that because they're corollary laws, and 421J basically is the law that applies to planned communities, as I understand it, that the procedures followed by the council should be similar to the procedures followed by this board?
Lincoln, I'd be happy to give you an opinion about your heart murmur, but I don't know enough about the law. I'm not qualified to have an opinion about corollaries to this or that. What I'm saying is that my reading of 421J5A says that members have the right to participate in the meetings unless the board says no.
I get that, Phil. But my thinking is this: the Hawaii State Sunshine Law is perhaps the most the strictest law that promotes openness and participation. Okay. That being said, if you look at watch our council meetings, they allow public testimony, which is the participation in the process that you talk about. But certainly a member of the public can't raise their hand in the middle of a council meeting, interrupt the meeting and the chairman and say, hey, I want to say something and you have to recognize me. Okay, that just does not happen because, hold on a second.
Honestly, I believe that a parliamentarian would know what the law is.
Andy,
While we're waiting, can I ask Phil a question?
yeah, go ahead, please.
Phil, I would not feel very comfortable voting for a motion about a document, a legal document that I didn't have a chance to read. I wonder if you could have sent us that document, and so we would know exactly what you're talking about. You're paraphrasing it, and so I just like to read the real words. I'm not.
Okay. All right.
Robert, may I read the real words? I have them.
Yeah,
in front of
Andy,
me
go
right
ahead.
now.
Andy?
421J5A. All meetings of the Board of Directors, other than executive sessions, shall be open to all members to provide input on the matters being discussed. Matters who are not on the Board of Directors may participate in deliberation discussion other than during executive sessions unless a majority of a quorum of the Board of Directors vote otherwise. I don't read anywhere in that, that's verbatim. I don't read anywhere in that participation is implied to be taking place at any time during the meeting. It simply ensures that the members will be able to provide input on the matters being discussed. And it's very unambiguous about that. As an association have provided that window of opportunity for member input and discussion scrupulously in every board meeting I've ever been to since I've lived in Leilani, but it's always taken the format of a time set aside for that, separate from the board agenda business.
And then Andy, if you'll excuse me, it seems to me that by using the word participate in deliberations suggests that that participation has to be contemporaneous with the deliberations. That would be the whole purpose of it. Maybe I'm missing something there, but I think that when it says they can participate in the deliberations, that's an ongoing process, not at the beginning or the end, but an ongoing process. And so that's my take on it.
Okay, so let's, ready to call the question? Alice, do you want to call the roll?
I will. Robert Golden,
No.
Andy Andrews,
I'm going to abstain until I get more clarification on it. I'm a little bit in agreement with Alice. I'm really not, and I'm actually in agreement with Phil. I don't know enough about the law to really to make a judgment on it. So I'll concur with Phil that I'm not in a position to make that decision.
Patty Hatzistafarakis.
I'm going to abstain as well. I would like to see more documentation and take a look at it for myself before making a decision.
Phil Denny.
Yes.
Alice. I vote no because I really am not comfortable with something I haven't taken a close look at and thought about.
So the
It's
motion,
the law.
the motion does not pass. Asking everyone in the audience to please keep yourself muted. I would appreciate that.
That's 1 yes, 2 no's, and 2 abstentions.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Robert. Thank you
You're
for that opportunity. I have, as you know, I've been given the task of dealing with this upcoming election. And I wanted to make some comments and to ask some questions of the board about this process. It's been said to me again by others, members, that the nomination forms are incorrect and that the disputed bylaw changes of 1219 in fact call for 4 and not 5 two-year candidates in odd years. So I don't know how that can be resolved, but the bylaws as written, even though they've been disputed, clearly call for 4 two-year candidates in the odd years and not 5. The solution seems to me, since the board is now down 2 members, 1 2-year member and 1 1-year member, the board still has the ability to appoint a board member, and again, if they were to appoint a 2-year member, then there would be only 4 candidates, and we would comply with the bylaw. How else to resolve this, I don't know, but it seems to me the bylaws are pretty clear that it says 4 and not 5.
Okay. So, Phil, there might be an error. I don't have the nomination form in front of me. Can I ask you a question about that?
Sure. Yeah, I don't have it in front of me either, Robert.
Okay.
But this
So the intention is that was clear that everyone who's running in this election is running for a 2-year term.
okay.
Okay. And currently we have on the board 2 members who are completing the first of their 2-year terms.
Yes.
And the other 4 members are completing their 1-year term and have to run again if they want to run. Correct?
Yes. Yes.
So where exactly is the difficulty?
Well, the problem is that running, electing 5 board members in an odd number year does not comport with the bylaw change as was made.
Well, one of those board members stepped down. So that's
I understand. I understand. There's 2 vacancies, or yes, there's 2 vacancies on the board right now. But again, the bylaw calls for election of 4 directors for 2-year terms in the odd years. That's what it says. So I'm just pointing
Yeah,
out
but everyone, no, and it said, and after 2020, all subsequent elections were going to be for 2-year terms.
That was only for that was only for the first year, that stipulation of the 4 and 5.
Right. I was trying to, as our attempt to create staggered terms. So I really don't think there's a problem here. And we are not in conflict, with the bylaws. In fact, we're trying to actually affect the bylaws.
okay. All right. I just wanted to bring that up. I see that as an inconsistency.
Okay.
And if you don't see that as an inconsistency, then I will accept that. The other issues, I think that we should begin to talk about the voting process itself for this upcoming election. It would not surprise me to hear anyone say that we're not going to reach out to the League of Women Voters again. I could be wrong about that, but I suspect we're going to have to come up with a mechanism for vote tabulation and recording that works for everyone. And I think that the board ought to consider that, and we ought to begin to consider that right now to get this ironed out prior to March. This should not be a last minute sort of thing. So we have some options as I see it. We have used Linda Wertendijk for some time. She did the elections in 2019 and had done them before. As far as I could tell, I paid pretty close attention in that election, and I thought that went well. Perhaps there are others in the community that could supervise the election from outside. Perhaps there is a way we could assign people to do it in-house. Perhaps we could require the candidates themselves to do this among themselves. But whatever we decide is, I think that given our experience in this last election, that the overarching thing ought to be transparency. This ought to be as transparent as we can possibly make it. And that would be my plea, that whatever we decide, whatever process we decide to do this election, that we do it with transparency in mind. So moving forward, I'd like to know, Robert, if you'd remind me and everyone else when the ballots will be mailed.
The ballots will be mailed. So please don't hold me to exact dates. So the nominations are coming in by January 4th.
Robert, can I say something?
Yes.
I had thought that we had turned these decisions over to Phil, and I'm comfortable with that. I think that decisions like the dates for the mailing of the ballots and such best rests in his hands, as you had asked. And so I, for one, am perfectly comfortable with his decisions, as long as they don't run inconsistent with the bylaws. I'm fine with the nuts and bolts decisions being his.
Phil, your response to that? Because I agree with Andy.
That would be fine with me, and I would be happy to take on that task to make those decisions and come back to the board and let you know my thoughts about that.
So maybe at the January board meeting, you could come back with your plan.
Absolutely. Well, I'd like to nail down the issue about when the ballots are going to be mailed and whether the bios are going to be included, and those sorts of things prior to that, and then we can.
Bill, can I comment? The bylaws make whatever about requirements for when the ballots get mailed or bios being included or not. So all of those in the past have been decisions made on an annual basis. And again, I'm completely comfortable with you just using your own best judgment on that.
Okay, all right, that's exactly what I do. Is there anybody else that has an objection to that?
I have a comment. Um, Linda Wortendyke will not be willing to count ballots this time. So
Okay.
you don't need to call her. Yeah.
Thank you, Alice. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'll start working on that and communicate with everyone as I go. The third thing that I wanted, okay, I'll wait until old business to talk about the infrastructure. Thank you, Robert.
All right. Well, Phil, in terms of the agenda, your infrastructure report and bathroom maintenance is under old business.
Okay, are you ready to do that now?
Yeah, fine.
Okay. The first item under the infrastructure is, as most people know by now, and as Alice has been pointing out for some time, that we have a big problem with hazardous trees. This has shown its ugly head on South Pomaikai and now North Kupono. Both locations have three very massive dead albicias that are shedding large pieces into the street. The North Kupono trees shed a large branch and took out the power last week. The Helco responded fairly quickly and restored power. But again, we have this problem. In a quick drive around that I did, besides those two areas, there's a very large dead albizia at the intersection of Moku and Kahukai on the north side of Kahukai. Not as dangerous as the other six, but those seem to be the ones that are in need of immediate attention. Just to bring you up to date, I got some bids on removing the hazard trees on Pomaikai, and in the interim, heard that the county of Hawaii might consider taking care of these since they're in imminent danger. And at this point, we're waiting to hear from the county. It's unclear whether they'd be willing to take care of the other trees. At any rate, the estimates I got from three certified arborists, one bid was way out of the park. He wanted $5,000 per tree. The other two bids were in the same ballpark of around $1,350 per tree,
Wow.
which is given the circumstances and the amount of work is in my opinion pretty reasonable. Of course, if the county will do it at their expense and go after the property owners to recover it and leave us out of it, clearly that's the best way to go. But I would just emphasize that the risk here is imminent. Robert and I talked about this the other day, and what we need to do, in my opinion, is to build some more barricades. And even though they really are, of little effect in protecting people, at least puts people on notice that there's a problem. I think we need about 8 more, and I am willing to do that. But we need to buy some lumber and materials and so forth. But anyway, that's a project that we're going to do quickly and try and get some barricades up around those problem areas. So that's where that stands. The next item on the infrastructure report is the Leilani work truck. The work truck is currently being repaired. The transmission is currently, it's been removed and is at the rebuilder. And unfortunately, what's happened is our timing was not very good. And there is a bit of a backup in getting transmissions rebuilt in East Hawaii, apparently. But it's happening as we speak. There were 3 bids. Andy got 2 of them, one from Transtech for $49,1243, The second from Orchid Isle, $55,087.60. And this bid is $3,130, and I accepted it. That is somewhat an inexact number. There may be a little more or less tax, and there may be a little more or less parts charge depending on gaskets and other things. But around $3,100 out the door is going to be the cost. And I expect the truck to be back before Christmas. I certainly hope so. Currently, Michael Javanillo is using his personal vehicle at the IRS rate of 57.5 cents per mile. And he's, I think the last, when I talked to him, he said he'd put 60 miles on his truck. So he's also going to be taking a vacation for much of the end of December. So the mileage will be fairly small. So hopefully that will resolve this issue.
So can I just interrupt for a second?
Yeah,
So
sure.
since the cost of that vehicle is over $2,500, we're going to need a vote of the board to secure that check.
Okay.
So you can make a motion now.
I would move that the board approve an expense of approximately $3,200 to repair the truck.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
I have a slightly related question. Phil, do you know what Michael's insurance covers? We have $1 million policy, and Michael's now using his personal vehicle as a commercial vehicle. Did you do any legwork on finding out whether his policy, what the situation? My understanding in Hawaii is that the policy extant on a vehicle being driven by the owner is the only policy in force, and I'm wondering if LCA is covered under his use of his truck.
My understanding, Andy, again, I'm not an insurance expert. My understanding is that your personal coverage covers your temporary use of vehicle for business purposes.
Our policy actually doesn't have a temporary.
No, not your policy, Michael's policy.
Right, and he has $1 million coverage.
I don't know what his coverage is. I suspect it's like the rest of us, 300, but I don't know.
Okay, could you find that out?
Yes, I will. Yes, I will.
Thanks.
So, so Phil has a motion on the floor. Any other comments before we vote? All right, Alice, you want to call the roll?
Okay, Robert Golden,
Yes.
Andy Andrews,
Yes.
Patty Hestis-Tavarakis,
Yes.
Philip Denny,
Yes.
Alice Lindahl, yes. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay,
Continue.
the last issue I have is I talked to Michael earlier this week, just general questions, how's it going and what's the problems. He reported to me that there are some problems with the toilets at the community center. He reported that he goes in, he said he checks each bathroom every morning and replaces paper products and so forth. And some minor cleaning as required. Last week, somebody had a bowel movement on one of the bathroom floors and smeared the feces all over the wall and sinks and doors and so forth. And Michael had to clean it up and take care of it. He said, what he said to me is that if he's going to have to do that and change the paper and and he feels responsible for the bathrooms, to Michael's credit, he takes personal responsibility and personal pride in our community center and its cleanliness. And so he told me he's very willing to do the cleaning and not have to rely on the cleaning service, which apparently is coming once a week. And he felt that once a week was not enough, and that he would be willing to do it. So again, I just open that up for discussion. I think this is, an issue that we need to deal with. And I, for one, would welcome Michael's volunteer efforts to keep those bathrooms nice.
Is there discussion, other board members on this point of bathroom maintenance?
Robert, the reason that we switched over to the cleaning service was because we had gone down from 2 employees to 1 employee, and Michael was starting to get a little bit behind on some of the mowing and other work. When we did the analysis of it, we've determined that if Michael spent 15 minutes a day cleaning the bathrooms, that would amount to 67.5 hours a year. And so we realized that he was going to spend about a week and a half a year cleaning the bathrooms. And at his rate of pay, that was going to cost us $1,755. The cleaning service right now is costing us about $50 a week. So it's costing us about $800 more a year than it will cost us in Michael's time to do it. But the bigger concern was that it was going to take Michael away from his other jobs for a week and a half out of every year. And so that was the original concern. I agree with both Phil and Michael that there's a wisdom, and since Michael's already there, of having him do it. But my concern is that when we changed from 2 employees to 1 employee, it was already asking a lot from Michael to keep up with with all the other work that needs to be done. So I just wanted to put that out for discussion as well.
Yeah, my comment, Andy, this is Phil. My comment is he's already doing it. The best laid plans of mice and men, but he feels some personal responsibility for keeping it clean, and he's already doing it. And he thinks that is something he ought to continue. So it seems to me, Andy, that we either need to increase the frequency of the cleaning service that we have, or agree to Michael do it, or perhaps we can come up with some kind of an outside the box solution that doesn't involve either of those things. But again, I just wanted to point out that it's an issue.
Can I make a suggestion that we table this for a month for more discussion? It seems like the other board members are not really up to speed on this. And like Phil said, Michael's going to be on vacation a bunch of the rest of the month anyway, and wouldn't be cleaning the bathrooms, obviously, on all the days that he's off. So why don't we just table it until January? And we can, I like Phil's idea of an outside the box solution. I think that there is an outside the box solution that uses both ideas, and maybe a cleaning person is not the right way to do it.
I've got an idea. Maybe it needs just to be checked more often. I worked with a lot of student teachers in junior high at one point in my career, and they tell me that this is the kind of thing that happens in junior high boys' bathrooms. And it's just angst and stress and stuff like that causes it, and they dare each other to do it. But it's probably a one-off. I mean, I don't really think that if we haven't had this problem before, that it's not likely to happen regularly. So
well, we've had the cleaning service, I think, for 11 months. I might be wrong on that. And as far as I know, this is the only incident. So I agree with Alice, we might be responding something that happened just once and changing the whole system for something that really doesn't require us to rewrite the whole system.
So Phil, is it okay with you if we table this and we'll bring this back at the January meeting and come to?
Yes, yes, I just wanted to bring this up as an issue, and again, the final comment I would make is I think it would be, you know, to our best interest to pay Michael the 15 minutes a day to do it. But let's talk about it again in January and get some more ideas and toss it around and see if we can come up with a solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil, for those reports.
That's my report. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you very much.
Do we have a cleaning crew for when Michael is not on vacation, when he's not here?
Yeah, the cleaning crew is still engaged and they come on a weekly basis.
Okay. So it sounds like somebody should check in.
Right,
during the-
actually, I'm gonna have a conversation with him and maybe he could stop down one time just as a sort of pass through to check during the week also. Okay. Alice, I believe you're up next.
I just have a very short CCNR report. I got an email from the person who's been camping for some extended period of time on Kahukai near Kumakai, and she tells me that she is going to be gone for an indefinite period of time. And we can only hope that she has a nicer, drier place to stay. And it's nice that she was willing to send me an email. Maybe she'll keep us updated if she comes back. And she's been very friendly to work with on the CCNR violation. And I don't know if sending her the violation precipitated this or not. We've been focusing this week on sending out violations for junkyard and car chop shop operations. So they got their first letters. And since these are easy to see, if there's any interest in cleaning up, we should be able to tell rather soon if sending the first letter made a difference. So that's it for the CCNR report. And I believe that I have the next report as well, which is a little bit longer. I hope you guys will bear with me. Most folks are aware of the fact that we've been discussing whether or not to open up the lava-covered roads on South Malama for some months now, because there's an interest in having a passable road for passenger cars and heavier vehicles in there. And I'm just giving you an update on some of the most recent happenings in that with that situation. And just 3 days ago, the board received an email from Sam Estes. He's proposing that the board allow him to grade South Luana Street for 750 feet on the lava-covered section. This would create a roadway to the Big Fissure 8 where he owns property. Since Luana Street is owned by all the members of LCA, and LCA is responsible for the safety management and upkeep of all roads in the subdivision, we will tell Sam that we will respond to his request when we have a solid sense of what the community wishes and what the community will support as a process for opening the roads. And just to give you some background with respect to my role in this as secretary, when we first signed up with the board, we signed something called an agreement to serve. And there are two important elements of that agreement. There are, I think, 10 altogether. And I'll just read them to you because this is providing us guidance on what to do next. Number 5, we will promote the goals and interests of the LCA in a constructive manner and not take sides with or create favor for any separate group of homeowners. And later, further down on the list, number 9, we pledge to place the best interests of the LCA above my personal interest, the interest of a particular homeowner, or the interest of a group of homeowners. And these two items say exactly the same thing, which means whoever brought this list together thought it was really important through to us that we listen to the majority of members. And we've already started a few months back to obtain the opinions of as many members as possible. And most of you guys, and I hope all of you, have taken our roads poll, which asks lots of questions on your opinions about having open roads or keeping those roads closed, under what conditions. 89 LCA members participated, and although this is fewer than the number of homes in Leilani Estates, which are still standing, it is larger than the usual number of people we can gather at a meeting at any one time. Our board meetings run about 22 people, but 89 people reflects a better survey than any survey we've taken so far. Also, this poll had lots of room for comments. Some people went on page after page after page, which was really kind of nice. And they revealed that these members who did give us feedback, these 89 members, are ones who actively participate in the life of the community. And so that's something we really want, people who who care. And there's one question which drew 37% support, and I'm bringing it up because it is appropriate to the opening of the road on Luana Street. And the question on the poll reads as follows: owners of lava-covered lots should be encouraged to rebuild homes on their property and work at getting the look of their vegetated properties back. Now, 37% is significant, and it was there were 7 options in that question, and the only one that got a higher response was 44.9%, which was the option of leaving the lava-covered area undisturbed and never taking down the barriers. And Robert thoughtfully told me to try to put the graphics up for that, which are displayed on the poll. We want the gray bar graph going sideways, not the colorful other one.
Okay.
And it's not as easy to read as the other one. You probably need to zoom it up.
Hold on, let's see. It's not the one I wanted. Hold on.
There it is.
No, I can make that bigger.
Bigger and better. Well, yeah, there you go. The biggest one you have.
Hey, how's that? Is that readable?
It didn't change. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the first bar there is left undisturbed, and the printing doesn't come out very well. The second bar is we would like to have hiking trails on the lava. The third one is the 33.7% that I just mentioned. A lot of people thought it would be a wonderful idea to see homes reestablished out there. And the 8.9%, let's see, this all has to do with tourism. The 8.9% said we should be inviting in tour companies, and let's see, and the last one is none of the above. And I think the smallest bar there is I don't have an opinion. So this just shows that it got a significant amount of interest among the members just thinking of it as a concept. And let's see here. In the 2 years past since the eruption has taken place, so far, 15 homes that are being built in the vegetated part of Leilani Estates, and there has been no interest so far. Not even a single person has put in a proposal to build or rebuild their house on the lava. And it's kind of easy to believe. There's a lot of problems to be solved that are not the case in our vegetated lots. But so far, we haven't had much interest in returning that building process to the lava. And the 15 homes that are in various stages of construction now have all been started in the last, I'd say about 4 or 5 months. So people are building and people are interested in moving back here. Now, I have had 3 people just talking to in conversation, because I've been trying to engage people in conversation on this subject as much as I can to get that amount of input. And 3 of them said that they were thinking about building homes, and they hadn't really worked out the finances and all that stuff. One of the persons who wanted to build their homes was going to require that Ho'okupu be opened up all the way down the length of Ho'okupu and then turn left on Kahukai, which would be about over a mile, which would really cost a lot of money. So that one, I think, it hasn't had a lot of discussion. But anyway, my point is, so far for Leilani, it hasn't been what looks like of an interest to anybody after 2 years. The poll comments, that is, the comments on our members poll, have a huge number of people telling us that they do not want the, I haven't counted them up. I was going to do that this afternoon, but I couldn't plow through it all. But they would really like to see, they're really worried about the damage done by off-road vehicles and trespassers based on their experience right after the eruption finished, with all the trouble they had with people coming on. The guy who lives closest to Fissure 8 said that he thinks the terrain right now is getting, here's his exact quotes, all chewed up by trespassers and motorbikes, and that the whole area is actually somewhat damaged already. One thing we didn't talk about in the poll, because we didn't know, we didn't have any idea that what people would want, is that we didn't cover finances. What is it going to cost LCA, both as one-time costs and also ongoing costs that would be incurred if we did open up one road or more than one road. And the things that could cost us money, in addition to the creation of a safe road using a contractor who had a license and is insured, which is required in LCA by our insurance company, the members are worried about crime and dumping of garbage and dumping of car bodies, volcanic dust, generator noise, and disrespect from visitors, which they have a lot of firsthand knowledge of. But I believe most of this comes from viewing places like Kalapana and other parts of Puna and the Big Island in general, where people tend to dump things on easy to get to lava that nobody's watching. The other thing that they're worried about is that if there is an increase in crime, that the neighborhoods themselves will be on the, will be resulting in, that is, the stress on the neighborhood will require people to occasionally run out and try to run off troublemakers and even criminals. And they don't want to be put in this position. And quite a few of them mentioned they feel like there have to be or they have to be cops, and they don't like that feeling. And I would think, and in discussion with the board, we do not want to create a situation where residents are required to police their communities. There have just been too many incidents where homeowners have been called on to do this, and it happens up on our street too. So managing access is part of the solution to keeping crime out, and an effective security system is another. And an effective security system is something we have to work on. We just don't have one. We could easily probably put up cameras, but the hard part is having somebody show up in the middle of the night to chase off people that we don't know, and we don't know what they're doing, and we're just not prepared for that. So we need some more professional level advice on how to deal with unwanted behaviors. That's a wrap up of what I wanted to say. And thankfully, Mr. Estes provided me with the survey points that he has for his required road. And so now we have road construction companies giving us estimates on how much that it would cost. So very soon we'll have a fairly good idea of the most expensive elements that might be incurred if the roads are opened. And I don't have any idea how that will turn out, but we expect by this time next month, and when we make a report, that the costs will be known, and we can fit that into our judgment of how we want to proceed with opening the roads. So there's, I'm sorry that we don't have more than 89 people calling in, and I myself would be happy to submit the details of what we know and what we found out. I didn't want to talk to you guys too long tonight. And so I would be willing to host a Zoom meeting and go over every detail that I know about the feasibility of opening roads. And the other members who've been working with me, Robert and Patty, I'm sure would help me with that. So I'd like to somehow get the word out that we'd love to have more input. More input is always better. I heard a lot from people who don't want the road, and I have heard hardly anything from members who would like to have all the roads opened. Okay, that's the end of my report. And
Excellent. Thank you.
yeah,
I'll let you thank
How
you.
many people are isolated? How many houses are isolated because the roads are covered?
well, there's the Kahukai Kepuka, and I'm always trying to remember, it's either 5 or 6 homes that are in there, but there is a plan to open those as part of the upcoming road repair things. And so that opening of that road is covered and paid for partly by the grant that we got and partly by a small business association loan. So that one was going to be hugely expensive because we were going to do Kahukai the long way, but now we're doing Kahukai the short way to the Kepuka. And there are no other homes isolated by that.
So what
has the board opened up this topic for discussion?
No, we
by
haven't.
members?
Sorry, David. That person
So
spoke out of turn.
is this a board member who is discussing this?
Unfortunately, the person spoke out of turn, David. So
All right, so
that should not
and
have
then
happened.
we shouldn't have answered that and
Well, right, we made a
the
mistake.
discussion about the item, okay?
Right, thank you.
He's smiling. I answered it.
So let me hear from other board members, and then I have a suggestion.
Yes, we'd like to open this up. Other board members always have things that I forgot to mention, so let's find out what those are.
Bill and Andy and Patty, do you have any comments to make on House's report?
This is Phil Alice. I have a couple of questions.
Mhm.
The members of the Leilani Community Association have an easement to use all the roads in here. Yes? Is that true?
The
Hello?
existing roads, yes. The road doesn't exist anymore until we remake a new one, or
No,
whenever that
the
gets-
road still exists. It's just covered up. The road's still there. Yeah? Unless,
Right.
so the question is, if members have a right, an easement to use all the roads in here, even the ones that covered up with lava, I would argue, then I don't understand this discussion. People like Mr. Estes own that land out there. People like Mr. Estes have paid dues to the Leilani Community Association for many years. People like Mr. Estes, and indeed myself and you as well, have the right to use all the roads in here, not just the ones they live on. And so I guess I have a hard time understanding why there's a conflict of allowing a member to go back to his land over a road that he has an easement to use.
Well, he has access to walk to his land, and he does that all the time. But I think that the problem with providing access to all of the lava that's been covered up would be such a huge expense that it's just hard to imagine how much dues would have to be to pay for making access to everybody's property.
No, I understand, but the sentiment of much of this is that this is a work of nature. It needs to be preserved. It needs to be left undeveloped. And I think it ignores the point that real flesh and blood people own that land. And real flesh and blood people have an easement over the roads to use it. So again, I'm a little bit perplexed about the tenor of this, and it seems that that the rights of the individual who owns the land is being superseded by the rest of us. Our desire to preserve it, and that's an issue that's going to be difficult and thorny. My guess is that unless the county is willing to use its eminent domain and seize that property, then this is going to. So anyway, that's my comment about it. I think people like Sam Estes.
So it's not a done deal. I'm asking for more input, and I would like people to know what the costs are, and the costs are, some of the consequences are unpredictable. We can't really say exactly how many, what kind of problems will arise, but we're trying to find out. And we also just really want to know what people want. So,
Alice, just a follow-up question.
Sound like a completed document because it is not.
Thank you. A follow-up question, Alice. If someone like Sam Estes were willing to foot the bill to open that road to his property, does that solve the problem?
We have to discuss that in the board. I don't. I do know that, and I talked to the county about this, that only Leilani estates can do the grading of the road. You can't grade a road that doesn't belong to you personally, and they've said that it would have to be Leilani who did this grading. And just knowing how much it will cost is important.
Can we hear from Andy or Patty before we go?
Eddie, why don't you go ahead of me?
Patty?
I don't have anything to add. I think Alice has done a great job of pulling all of this information together. I do have some questions on the proposal that we received, but I think I'd rather take those up at a later date when I can write them all out and get them to everyone.
She means the proposal received from Mr. Estes about the road. Yeah.
I have just a few questions, and there seems to be just a few things that might be missing, so I just want to pull it all together.
Thank you, Patty. Andy, you want to speak?
My understanding is what we said in the proposal, in the policy, was that we were simply in a status of collecting more information. And so it feels as though any of us speaking counter to that policy at this point in time. The board passed that policy, and as far as I know, that policy, of course I do know that policy is still in force, and so we're still in that status of collecting information. I think Alice's incredible care that she's showing is really what the situation deserves. I think it's a huge implication. Look how long the county has taken to make a decision to open county roads where there's no ambiguity that they someday intend to do it, but they're moving very cautiously and very deliberately and moving forward. And I think it behooves the LCA to show the same wisdom and discretion.
Thank you. So Alice, what I'd like to do a follow-up on your point. This is a really a great situation of where there are a whole different set of interests and competing rights. And Phil was quite correct. There's Sam Estes as private property. He has certain entitlement, and the community also has entitlements. And I think we're in a process now of just beginning this conversation. And I like your idea of meeting on a Zoom meeting just on this topic. So to
Right.
allow these questions to be aired, for people to hear various points of view, and beginning to come to some kind of consensus of what is the best way forward. I mean, I've spoken with Sam numerous times. I'm beginning to understand more and more the situation. And I just think that we should have a Zoom meeting as the next step outside of a board meeting, where this is going to be a conversation about, opening up of the lava covered roads.
Mhm.
And no board decision is going to be made at this meeting. It's rather going to be information gathering. So I would like to work with you on that. I think the question is, do we do it before January 1st or after January 1st? That's perhaps the big question.
Well, I'm anticipating getting some estimates from the road building companies. And I think it might be worth a discussion to learn from the members if they would like extra investigation done that costs money. There are geoengineering companies who will tell us where we really shouldn't be having any roads at all because of volcanic hazards due to the placement, they didn't put it there, there's heat underneath, right, very close to the surface in quite a few spots. And so not every place is going to be okay to have a road. And those studies are expensive. And so I know that we won't feel comfortable just ordering them up without some input from the members. And another thing is the volcanic dust that's stirred up from mainly dirt bikes and off-road vehicles is already a problem in the lower Malama area. And there are environmental assessments and companies that come and do a study to figure out under what circumstances that becomes toxic or, a health hazard to the neighboring communities. So I don't know how much that one costs. I haven't heard back from them. So those are possible things we can do to help guide us about what we want to do and not want to do. But I've tried to do all the things that don't require money so far.
So, well, would you suggest us going forward to have this meeting now? I mean, I'm not, before the first?
Yeah, if people have things they want to talk about now, it'd be great. I'm not sure how to advertise it because we
Well,
have
we can
such
put it
a,
on MailChimp and.
yeah, okay.
Okay, and so you and I can work on that, and we can work on the best timing for that meeting. And also get input in terms of people's interest in should the LCA go do further research, in terms of gathering data.
Robert, do you want me to take the pressure off of you of being host? I have a Zoom account I can run.
Oh,
it.
no, that's a very small
No
issue.
big deal. Okay.
Absolutely not, that's no issue. All right, so then I think that's what we're gonna do next. We're gonna have a Zoom meeting just focused on this topic. And not sure when it's going to be, given that we're going into the holiday season right now. Somehow, I always feel like after next week, it's like everything shuts down until after New Year's. So I think the energy wise is like maybe the idea of the beginning of the new year, people will be fresh. We can have a conversation about this topic, and maybe we could actually plan this meeting actually before our January board meeting. So maybe we could do it then. Any other comments from the board before we move on? Okay, so again, Alice, I just want to thank you for this really Herculean task that you're undertaking. And
Oh, it's not that hard. It's not that
well, you've done a lot of work. And the other thing is, I want to say something out to shout out to Sam, who's been very patient with us, and who's he's met with us several times. And I can understand Sam probably is biting on his teeth right now and saying, why is this getting done? I get that. But we're going to move forward and we're going to do this correctly. So most of the community is happy. That's
Robert, I just remembered that I had one more visual. Can you just pop
okay,
open?
definitely. I was wondering about that.
This
Okay.
one is colorful. My
okay.
task is made a lot easier because the way Patty and Robert set up this poll in the feed out of the data is just so easy to read. This is a pie chart that shows the percentage of people, it's kind of a general thing. Are you in favor of reclaiming, opening the side roads within the LCA subdivision that were covered by lava? And yes was 32.6%, and no was 39.3%. Maybe was 13.5. That's yellow, if you guys can't read it very well. And all the little rainbow colors there are Patty's thoughtful attempt to make everybody's details shown. And most of them say, not if it's going to cost money, cost benefit needs to be balanced, only to connect the Kapukas, only to serve residences. And so all of those colors, and there's another whole band of those as well. If you press this little down button there, which we can't do because this is just a screen capture, that most of the people put a lot of constraints who didn't choose one of those two options. Blue, yes, open the roads. Orange, no, don't open the roads. Those are constraints that for not opening the roads. So at that point, when this poll was taken in July, I believe, June and July, that's without knowing any of the details, that's what people were thinking. So.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Alice.
I like show Patty's hard work on that poll.
Thank you. Thank you, Patty. All right. So let's move on. Alice, were you talking about the newsletter for January? There's an item here for newsletter?
Yes, that's the last thing on the agenda. We're going to have a newsletter posted on the website like we did last year, and it will be a combination of community news and also short essays from your friends and neighbors in Leilani. And it's the whole idea is to get people to tell us what's happening in our subdivision that we probably don't know anything about, and give us better insights on our neighborhood. And so that will be coming out in January. And I think that we should get it out soon enough, right after the nominations, that we can actually list the nominations in there too. Would that be possible? Yes. You know, and bios and stuff. So you don't have to wait for the ballot to come to see who's running for office.
Again, thank you, Alice, for your work.
That's it.
Moving on to new business now. I distributed Mark Halneo's proposal for additional speed bumps on his I don't know what actually we could call that section of Kahukai that goes from Miley Street toward section 1 on the north part of we're talking about from the North Miley to section 1. I hope I described that accurately. So I've distributed that to all the board members. And is there any discussion on Mark's proposal for 4 speed humps? And just to note, let's first talk about the principle of putting speed humps there. He got signatures. Is there any question about his proposal in terms of establishing speed humps there? I'm talking to the board now. Anyone have anyone?
Looks good to me.
Okay, Andy, Phil, Patty.
I didn't see the signatures on a petition.
I have them. I have them.
So you didn't send them to us?
No, there's a lot of paper there. I just sent you the cover sheet.
I understand.
And I have here all the signatures. And
you verified
on the map.
And you verified that it met the 75% criteria.
Yeah. So, any questions?
My question is, I couldn't understand in the read. I understood where they were going, but are we being asked to vote for paying for them?
No, we're not. No,
Okay.
We're treating this very similarly, the same way we treated the proposal
Okay.
From Skidmore et al.
Okay, so we're just giving,
right,
giving
but-
board permission to move ahead with
To move
it.
ahead, because we need to get, Mark did include an estimate for 8 speed bumps. That would be 4 speed bumps on his side of Kalukai, and then the additional 4 that Richard had requested. And that,
So who is paying for it?
well, we haven't decided that yet. That has not been decided.
Okay, so Mark's not.
We're just
asking for the board.
approving as a principle, and then we'll
Okay.
talk about implementation at a subsequent meeting. Okay, so that's, we're handle this in the same way.
Well, but my understanding was that the other one was going to be done hopefully by the contractor in to do the
Well,
work.
what
when
they
the
had
roads were
proposed
repaired.
that,
This one lists hold on, this one lists a contractor as having submitted a bid. So that's why I'm confused as to, because it's different than what we voted for and other for.
on the other one, we approved creating 4 speed humps on Kahukai.
Right.
The actual,
But Richard's proposal was that when the contractor comes in to do the road work, that he could be asked at that time what it would cost to do the
Right,
speed.
right.
Okay,
and yes, Mark did submit a bid for speed humps for 8 of them, of $16,750. And at this point, I'm tabling that part of his proposal. I'm just voting on the principle of establishing speed humps now on that section of Kahukai. Period. That's all.
okay. I'm going to recuse myself because I live and I'm one of the signers on the petition. So I'm going to recuse.
Okay. All right. So,
Robert, I'll second your motion.
okay, thank you.
And I also have a comment.
Okay, go
We've
ahead.
already approved this, Mr. Skidmore's speed humps. Wouldn't we just be approving the 4 that Mark has gotten
Yes.
for his section?
Yes.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Exactly. Phil, any comments? Patty, any comments before we call the question?
No,
Okay, let's call the question. Alice, you want to call the
I
roll?
will call roll. Robert,
Yes?
Andy,
He could be recused.
abstain. You abstained? Oh,
No, he recused.
Recuse.
oh, that's why he left. I'm starting to figure this out. Patty had Sister Baracus.
Yes.
Philip Denny. Uh-oh. Phil, are you voting? Can you hear me? Uh-oh. He's frozen, I think.
hello, hello.
There.
Phil, are you voting yes on the motion or no on the motion?
I'm voting no, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And Alice Lindahl voting yes. So
we
the
have
motion
carries.
carries, thank you. 3, let's see, 3-0 with 1 recusal.
3 to
3 to
1.
1.
3 to 1 and 1 recusal.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. It's late in the day.
We're all doing really well.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so now everyone's been very patient, and now we're going to move on to the members section, the members' comments. I already have members who've raised their hand. I do want to remind you of one thing first that I always do. Be with me on this. Here we go. Aloha etiquette. Listen to understand. Please be respectful. Be concise. avoid repetition. That is, if so-and-so speaks and you totally agree with that person, just say, I agree with so-and-so, and just sit down. That'll be good, because we can get through the meeting better that way, more efficiently. Agree to disagree, challenge ideas, not people. We're not here to attack people. We're here to attack ideas. Okay. With that said, I want to say the board will not be commenting or responding at this point. We will, though, respond, in due course to all questions raised and particularly questions raised. You will get a response from the board on that. Okay, so with that said, I'm just going to go in order of the way these hands are raised here. So Jim Penny, you were really the first person, so why don't you unmute yourself and you'll go first. And David Dye, you're next.
Thank you, Robert. Can you hear me? Okay. I've got several quick items. First of all, I want to say kudos on following the procurement policy. I did raise my hand early because when Andy was running through the approvals for the items over 2,500, my internet connection is coming in and out this evening. I didn't know if it was just me or everybody, but I couldn't hear what the $7,119 was for. I don't need to know now. I just wanted to share that I couldn't hear that. When Phil was talking, he was pointing out the importance of contemporaneous with the discussion to allow some of this feedback. And I think that's critically important because there's things that we might want to contribute before the board votes. And if the board votes and then the comments are at the end of the meeting, it's like a fait accompli. So hopefully we can come to some mechanism to allow people to get quick interjections at some point. With regard to the new road or paving a road over the lava, I think Jay Trukowski at one point told us that, I don't recall, but it was something like $50 per linear foot. And so if it was 750 feet of graded road, that would cost $37,500 at $50 a foot, but whatever it is. And if someone bulldozes their own road over the existing proper format, at some point that's going to become an imperative for us then to turn around and repave. I'm not against, I'm just pointing that out. Are we going to do Christmas bonuses this year? I know last year or the year before, there weren't Christmas bonuses. I'd like that to be addressed maybe in writing back. I thought that we bought some cameras at some point. I don't know that we did. But when Alice brought up the cameras, if we have cameras, are we using them? And finally, I just heard someone say the 8 humps on the bid were 16,000. I had been told earlier that it was 200 a piece, that 8 humps for 16K is 2,000 a piece. So if y'all could clarify that, I sure would appreciate it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to comment, that was a model of brevity and clarity. Thank you very much. Next, David Dye. Unmute yourself. Go ahead, David.
All right, so the board won't be responding here, but I was surprised to hear from Leilani's house lawyer that he didn't think it was necessary for the board to follow state law. I do see in the official guide from the state of Hawaii for neighborhood boards that it does say, must the board accept testimony at its meetings? Yes. Boards are required to accept both oral and written testimony from the public on any item listed on the meeting agenda. I would think that not being able to comment on any item raised on the agenda before a vote just makes it a moot point that we're not allowed to comment at all. Moving on, I would like to see a statement of a road plan from the board with the plans to what they are going to do with the roads. I keep hearing about building new roads and cutting new roads. I hear nothing about repairing existing roads. I would think that that would be done first. It would certainly be easier and less expensive than cutting roads through lava. And since it's the board's charter to maintain roads, I would like to see something about that
The other thing that I have is, does the board have a plan to mitigate the graffiti problem in Leilani? And if you're not sure what that is, it's all the painting and writing on roads throughout the development. I've seen it on Capono, I've seen it on Alapai. If you don't nip this in the bud, it will just continue to expand from road to road to road. So I think that's pretty much all that I have at this point. We were discussing at one point about the cleaning of the bathrooms. There was a figure posted about the employee doing 15 minutes a day versus the cleaning company, which apparently comes only once a week. And the cleaning company was something like $800 more a year for something that they'd only do once a week, whereas the employee would be doing it on a daily basis. So it just seemed like we were comparing apples and oranges there. So I think that's pretty much all that I have. Thank you.
David, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Next is Jay. Jay, you can unmute yourself.
I just wanted to make a comment, pardon my voice, regarding opening of roads. Back when the development was started, the original developers paid to get the roads ripped. They had the surveys done, they got the plat filed with the county, did the work to rip the roads, and divided up the land into our current 1 acre parcels. Then they went to market. Part of the price that they were looking at charging for selling lots included the cost of developing the roads. Many years later, the decision was made to pave the roads, and a special assessment was levied on all property owners at the rate of, if I recall, $600 per homeowner or per property. And they were given some period of time to make payments on that. Again, improvements were saddled onto the owners. Excuse me. Well, along comes the lava and the necessity, should we choose to open up more roads. The cost for that would need to be levied against the fronting property owners in order to follow the established protocol. That's all I had to say.
Thank you, Jay, very much. Gary, you're next, and then Mark. Gary, you're up.
I have a comment on one topic and a question on another. The first is the hazard trees on Pomaikai. I met with Phil Denny about 3 weeks ago as he assessed the problem there. Since then, 2 pieces have fallen, one a little bit smaller, able to roll out of the way. The second one, Michael came out with his tractor and had to push out of the roadway. I guess my question might involve Lincoln. We know the hazard exists. It's really bad. If someone is injured, it's a multiple $1 million lawsuit. It's been at least 3 weeks. We can't wait for the county. That's a fool's errand. It needs to be addressed, and those overhanging limbs need to be taken care of. That's the first topic. The second one is a little less significant, but still. There's an explosion of pigs in Leilani Estates. The herd is growing larger, significant damage on the roadways, the side of the roadways, on Kumakahi, Alapai, Kahukai, Malama. Is there any plan to mitigate by hiring trappers and eliminating this? And some of the males are getting quite large and aggressive, which I run across while I'm walking my dog. So this may be a topic that can be addressed hopefully soon. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. Pete, you're next. No, I'm sorry, I skipped over Mark. Mark is next. Mark Hanera. Mark, if you unmute yourself.
Thank you, Robert. Couple comments that I'd like to share with the members is, the first one is a speed hump on Kahukai Street. And at our last month's meeting, I didn't quite get the proposal that I wanted to submit to that meeting, and I got it the next day. So this proposal is from Bill Watkins. He's a general contractor. And I guess he could be like hungry for work. And I think he's pretty reasonable. So he kind of threw in the 5 speed humps here on Upper Kahukai and the 3 on the bottom of Kahukai. So that's total 8 speed humps. And he's willing to do everything, the painting of the humps, which is white paint, put up the signs. The only thing Leilani would have to purchase is just 1 set of posts and 1 set of signs. 2 set of signs. The signs would be speed hump, slow down, 15 miles per hour. Yeah. So you would have like 4 set of signs, 2 on the bottom and 2 on the top. I have 1 set of pipe posts that I can throw in. I've had that for several years now. I was going to use it up the top side here on Kahukai Street. But for that price, I think it's pretty reasonable. Just to let the board know, he's doing everything. That's my first comment. And the next one is, I think we should look at paving Kupono Street and Moku Street. Those 2 streets, I think it's important, like those people that live in that area, we gotta give them back a ditching road, yeah? I know we try to maintain the road as much as we can, but we can get beat out as quick as we can. And I'm sure we can try to afford to get that going. And my third comment is speeding. What that one gentleman said, we need to talk to the property owner on Kupono Street, south side. I mean, she's messing up that road. And she's saying that it's gonna be repaved. It's not the point, you know. She's defacing Leilani's property. And we need to stop that. Not only on Kupono, but other streets. Because if you just let these lag, you know, people are gonna take advantage. I've been in Leilani for almost 40 years. Yeah. I moved here for a lot of reasons. And Leilani Estate was a good place. Please. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Mark, very much. Pete, you're up next. Please unmute yourself. Pete Wilson.
How about that? Did I get it?
Perfect. I hear you perfectly.
Okay. A question about the speed humps. I hope that they're going to be designed with space in the middle, at least, like they are designed down by the community center. The reason I say this is every day I ride a bike. And I go as fast as I can because I had a heart attack and I'm trying to get my blood pressure up and get my pulse rate up. So I come down that hill, and if there was not a hole in the middle of it, I'd have to stop, slow down to get over that hump. So it seems to me, and also water can run through the hump, it doesn't build up. So I hope that these speed humps will be designed with that concept in mind, at least, that there will be a space in some point in the speed humps. And if someone can clarify what the design is going to be at this point in time, I'd be thankful. Secondly, I had commented to several people that I was going to try and organize collection of 1, 2, and 1, 2, 4, and 5.
Hi, Robert.
And I was going to try and do it through Puna Precious Plastic. It is sort of fallen by the wayside, unfortunately, from the Puna Precious Plastic perspective, but I would like to go forward with it and start storing it in a container I've got until I can get rid of it. The concept for me of throwing plastic into a landfill or into the Pacific Ocean, which is where it will eventually land, is not a responsible act on the part of our residents. So if we give them the option to at least recycle what is possible to be recycled, I would take it upon myself to store it and clean up the area. So I would give that to the board and they can decide what they want to do with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that very magnanimous contribution. Thank you very much. Richard, you're up next. Richard Skidmore.
I'm here.
Go ahead.
So I have a couple of things. The first is if Mark is still on the call, he correctly reported that it's 5 speed humps on Upper Kahukai and it's 3 speed humps that you guys approved last month for Lower Kahukai. But I do have a question on the bid. Is it 16,000 or is it 1,600? That's a question for Mark, or if you have it in front of you, Robert.
16,000.
And then it is 16.
Right.
Okay. And then I do have a answer for Pete, because I did discuss his request about bicyclists and the speed humps. These speed humps are not speed bumps like on Moku that have the space between them. They're a raised hump. So it's lower than the speed bumps that are on Moku, and they're 6 feet by 20 feet. So there is no place for a bicycle to go through. They go over, and it'll slow them down, but it's not where you have to stop like you do on Moku Street.
Richard, is that it? Or anything else?
The other thing was, I'm planning to nominate someone to run for the board, and I thought I understood the nomination form for 2 years. But after the discussions in this meeting, I'm not so sure I understand it anymore. Earlier in the meeting, Robert said that the change of the election to January would require a special meeting with members and then a vote. But then that's what the 2-year change from 1 year, wouldn't that have required a special meeting and a vote? So I guess my question is, do you believe that the change, the 2-year term was done legally?
Okay. Thank you, Richard. I'll respond to that later. Thank you. Any other questions or comments, Richard?
No, that was my question, I guess. So,
Right,
so you're
right.
saying it is a 2-year term?
Yeah, I read. Were you here in the very beginning when I made an announcement?
Right.
Right. So that's what that answers your question.
Well, that was about the election to happen in January.
And the nominations I referred to, both. I'll send you a copy of that if you want to see it again.
All right. Can I have another question?
Yes, go ahead.
I do. You did. I know I've been a pest about this for months now, but you did post a revised, updated pie chart with the legal expenses on it, and I appreciate that. And when you sent me the email on December 1st, you said the pie chart goes through September 30th because there were no legal invoices received after that date. But now tonight you approved 3 different legal invoices. So those weren't included, I guess, in the pie chart because they came in December? I mean, I don't understand, because the November P&L that was posted yesterday has like $14,000 in legal expenses. So it didn't make sense to me how $14,000 were paid in November when you say there weren't any legal invoices received in October and November.
So an invoice is paying for past due work.
Right.
So it's paying for September work. That's what those November's bills were paying for September work.
Okay, so they were included in the 930 pie chart.
Yes, yes.
Okay, well then that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing. All right, is there anyone else? Lee?
Just a couple of things. First, could you ask all your other board members to mute their mics, because it's very distracting, whoever's eating and sloshing around on the board.
Well, I could
They
do
don't
that.
see it, but we do.
Okay.
Thank you. The other issue I wanted to bring up was what Phil had brought up. I don't understand how the state law says that we should be able to debate something that's being discussed and we're not allowed to discuss. So I disagree with Lincoln on a lot of things, and this one is one of them, that he's misrepresenting the law or his interpretation. Same thing as a couple of the other board members. I think that if you want a valid voice of the community, when you're discussing something, telling us that we're not allowed to comment until after you've already voted on it and discussed it between yourselves, that's wrong. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Lee. Jim Penny, you have your hand raised. You already spoke. So I'd rather see if anybody else is here who wants to speak further. Are there anybody else who has a comment to make? Okay, if not,
Rick
Jim.
Davis is raising his hand.
Who?
Rick Davis.
All right, well, let me just, hold on one second. That's interesting. All right, thank you.
He's waving at us.
Well, okay. Rick Davis, go ahead. No, he's not raised. Someone's saying R here.
I apologize for my earlier comment. I'm new to Leilani, moving into Kumakahi
Okay.
just in the last 3 weeks. But anyway, thank you for answering my question, Alice.
Okay. You're welcome.
And then the other is, I do agree both with Lee and David as well, is that if you guys are voting on something, it seems like we should be able to comment on it prior to your vote. That's all I've got. And if you see me around, say hi. Aloha.
I will. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate that. Anyone else? We have time for a couple more. Anyone else wants to raise? Jim, do you want to talk?
Yes, a real quick question.
Go ahead.
Is there any limitation on the number of nominations any one of us can make for the board? Can I nominate 3 people?
No, absolutely not at all.
Thank you. So no restriction.
No restrictions. Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. Okay. Anyone else?
Robert, would it
Alice?
help if we, would it help if the people who on the board who are planning to make a motion have those motions available before the meeting and people can see what we're going to talk about? And
Right.
then if they already know a lot about, I mean, I'm just thinking, I'd like to have that myself because
Right.
some.
Shut up.
Right. So I think the board will take this under advisement and perhaps we'll change our policy about when members participate. We can, important feedback today, and we could talk about this for our subsequent January meeting. Okay.
Robert,
David,
this is Marianne. I can't raise my hand. I don't see where that option is, unfortunately,
okay.
tonight. I've seen it in the past.
Yeah, go ahead, Marianne.
Yeah, my comment was, and it was also in regards with Phil's motion, and Jim and David, they've talked about it. And specifically, my point would be about that tonight. I would have chimed in if I had I could find my hand, raise my hand, about the bathroom cleaning. I would volunteer my time for Michael when he goes on vacation and come clean that bathroom every day. I believe it should be cleaned every day. So that's my comment. And if Michael wants to train me, when he goes on vacation, I'll clean the bathroom every day for Michael. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marion. Marion, that was awesome. Thank you very much. Next person. David Dye, do you?
Yeah, just to provide a service to the board, if they would look at the Open Meetings Guide to the Sunshine Law for Neighborhood Boards, Office of Information Practices, State of Hawaii, July 2019, I think you will find the answers that you're seeking.
Okay, so I got that down. Open Meetings Guide. Could you just give me that again?
Sure, it's Open Meetings Guide to the Sunshine Law for Neighborhood Boards.
Okay,
and
good.
it's the Office of Information Practices, State of Hawaii, July 2019. And you'll know you'll have it because it's got the official seal of Hawaii on it.
Great. Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Robert, this is Lincoln. Can I say something?
Yes.
The Sunshine Law is not applicable to private boards like the LCA. What he's talking about are neighborhood boards, which are legislatively enacted and created. Therefore, the OIP has jurisdiction. The Sunshine Law is inapplicable to the LCA. What governs is 421J only.
I was surprised that you had mentioned the Sunshine Law yourself in supporting your argument.
Well, I mentioned the Sunshine Law because I think that it has much similarity to 421J with respect to member participation. And my point was, and by the way, first of all, let me make the record clear. I did not at any time suggest that we should not follow state law. In fact, before I got cut off, my audio got cut off. I was going to suggest that the motion be amended to provide that the LCA comply with state law. So, dispel that notion right off the bat, okay? I did not at any time suggest, even remotely, that we not comply with state law. That would be idiotic, okay? Now, with respect to compliance with the Sunshine Law, be clear, the Sunshine Law does not apply to private neighborhood boards, okay? The Sunshine Law only applies basically to government entities or entities created by the government, okay? I know that because as Corporation Counsel, I taught a class to all county officials regarding the Sunshine Law. Now, my point was, before I got cut off, was that I'm still trying to figure out in my mind exactly what, I'm trying to envision what a meeting looks like with, quote, member participation that is not happening right now. If it's a matter of, debating as, as board members deliberate over something, somebody can raise their hand and say, hey, I have something to say. I'm not quite sure that the law really provides for that and allows that. Because basically what you've done is basically make every member of the organization who's participating a board member. And then there's no control. And Roberts does not contemplate that. All right. So, I guess, I'm still amenable to hearing what Phil has in mind. But, somebody's got to really describe to me in very simple terms, what does the meeting look like, sound like when there's, quote, member participation that is not happening right now?
I would suggest that the ability, whether it be limited to a minute or 30 seconds for each member to, or for any member who wishes to do so, to have a comment of the item before the board, be able to do so. I don't see that that's necessarily unwieldy.
And why is it that 30 seconds or whatever that input cannot occur before the meeting starts or after the meeting starts during the public testimony portion or the member testimony portion?
Well, I don't, we don't always discuss what's listed in the agenda. Many of those agenda items are strictly general, and specifics are what are discussed in the board meeting.
Okay, so what you're saying is, what are you saying? Like the agendas are not detailed enough?
Yeah, for certain, for sure.
Okay, so can you give me an example?
You know, Lincoln, examining me at a board meeting is unseemly.
No,
I've given my position and stated what I feel is proper. I think it can be done. I think it's been done by many boards. It certainly can be done by the government boards. So why it can't be done by this board is a shock to me. You know, I think we can do these things in a polite and seemly manner if we choose to do so. But it seems that everything that I see is that we are being suppressed and quieted. You know, there was a chat option on this board recently that has been disabled. It allowed the members to discuss things while the board was deliberating. And one of those things they discussed was with regards to the purchase of a new truck or the repair and the illegality of a vote. Now, I don't see how that's disruptive, but, you know, I'm new to this board here.
Yeah, by the way, I'm not examining you. I'm just trying to promote member participation.
Okay, well then you've heard member participation tonight, and there are a number of members who have stated, in fact, that they would like to see this happen and have the ability to at least comment on the things that are in front of the board. I mean, we're just sitting here as an audience. I don't know why we're here, because we have really no participation other than at the end to say, well, that sucked.
Okay, now describe for me, what is participation?
Comment, to be able to talk about the discussion.
Why can't you comment during public testimony or when you're given an opportunity?
Well, commenting after the fact is really just masturbatory.
Okay, would it help to comment before the fact then, at the beginning of the agenda?
Well, certainly would be, because then at least if we know what the agenda items are, then we can at least state our feelings about it so that the board can take those under advisement. So when they make their decision, they have an understanding of the will of the members.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. Are you suggesting that perhaps maybe the process for the LCA changed so that the testimony occurred at the beginning of the meeting? Would that satisfy you?
I would ask that you poll the members on that. There is a polling function here that is available to Zoom. Why not ask the people what they would like?
No, I'm curious about what you would like.
I've already given my opinion.
Well, at the beginning of the meeting, would that be okay with you?
It would be better than what we have now.
Okay, well, do you want something beyond that?
I would love to have something beyond that, yes.
And what would that be?
Once again, Lincoln, you know, I'm not going to discuss this here with you. You know, I see that you're trying to pin me down. I feel like I'm in a court of law. You know, it's real simple. The people, members should have the ability to discuss the items that are in front of the board, whether it's just simply to make a comment. The board has the ability to restrict comment by time or not to allow comment at all.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I want to know when should that happen?
Well, I didn't know that the topic was going to be up for discussion, so I haven't written out a proposal about what it is that you think we should do, or that you don't agree with what I should do. What do you think? What do you think we should do?
I haven't formed any judgments. I just want to know what it is you'd like to see.
I thought I've stated that.
I think, Lincoln,
I think we're doing a circular argument here, and I'm really not happy being, you know, accosted by the lawyer for the LCA.
All right, so thank you. Thank you, Lincoln and David. And Fawn Dye has her hand raised.
Hi, Robert.
Hi.
I attended the meeting of a few times, and I feel like today I listened to other people member of the board, member of the Leilani State, other people other than the board, giving opinions and advice. And I feel like I really like this. I feel like this is really transparent, more transparent than I attended a weeks ago or so. So I think that other people may feel the same way as I feel, because you guys have more input. I feel like you have more input to help you making decision, right? Other than the board, only 4 or 5 people. And I myself feel that I feel better to be join in the meeting here. I would like to see more of this. I feel like other people will feel the same way that I feel. So that's it. I would like to just share my opinion. I feel like this is more productive, and more people will like the way like this.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your comments.
You're welcome.
I believe we're at the end of our meeting.
Rick Davis has his hand up, Robert. See him down there. He's using his real hand.
Oh.
You see
So,
him?
okay, so I don't see it. Rick, you already spoke before. You want to speak again?
Yes, yes. I just wanted to say that it seems like Alice's survey was an amazing input from the community about something that the board needs to decide on. So there was an enormous amount of input. And I don't know if there's a way to say, okay, the board is voting on this the next meeting. Could we get public input on it through a poll, through a survey, just like you did? And I mean, here we have 20 or 30 people, and Alice got that 80 just on the road issue alone prior to, and you still haven't voted. And I mean, you still have more input than we've gotten from anybody. So I don't know how, whether it could be the next meeting that it's actually voted on, but then you'd have more public comment. And anyway, it's just one idea of how to get more public comment before the board actually votes on something. You'd get some community input on the fact versus just asking us while we're walking on the street.
Okay.
Robert, I have a comment just on Rick's. I wanted to give credit where credit's due. Alice did a beautiful job on that report, but nearly all that poll work was done by Patty. So I wanted to make sure that she got her due for having done that poll.
Right.
And it took months. That wasn't like a week's worth of people feeding in. It was like quite a few months. So, and we had to really beat the drum to get that many. But I still think it's a good idea.
So I just want to give you just my final comments for tonight. I really appreciated what I heard tonight in this meeting. I appreciated people weighing in the patience they showed, people's courtesy toward one another. They're expressing their points of view most civilly. And I took in all your ideas, and yes, perhaps we've done some things wrong in the past and we'll do them better in the future. And that's what it's about. But I would agree that, at least for me, I'm just talking for myself, I'm not talking for the board, just talking about for myself. It was an opportunity, for people to share different opinions, and that was definitely, was constructive in going forward. So I want to thank you for all that. And this meeting is now adjourned, and we'll be meeting again the second Thursday in January. Thank you all, and have a wonderful holiday season, and happy Hanukkah for all those who are celebrating Hanukkah. Thank you very much. Aloha.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.